Declaring September Demon Slayer month, it's not enough time to talk about everything I want to talk about. What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another video, and today we're going to be discussing a little bit in detail of the final fight in the new Demon Slayer Infinity Castle movie, so spoilers ahead for the new movie. Seriously, like spoilers incoming, 3, 2, 1, okay, alright, moving on. But I actually want to talk about the importance of Tanjido in this fight because and rightfully so, I'm seeing a lot of people talk about Giyuu, and he definitely got more of the very hype moments within the battle. However, I think people are missing a narrative element of this battle that has to do with Tanjido, so let's talk about it. But before we do, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. So first things first, I just want to say it is abundantly clear that if it were just Giyuu or just Tanjido, neither one of them would have been able to defeat Akaza by themselves. And that is because Giyuu is doing most of the physical work. Giyuu is quiet, he doesn't want to talk, he doesn't really want to fight, he only is because he knows his life is in danger and Tanjiro's life is in danger. But he gets no enjoyment out of it, he just is trying to kill Akaza. So because of that, we see a lot of the big action sequences from him. But keep in mind, because of Akaza's abilities of being able to sense fighting spirit, and while Giyuu has good battle IQ, he doesn't analyze situations the way Tanjido does, and Tanjido has also had a past history with Akaza and can remember what happened. Giyuu would have had no shot by himself. In fact, we see that he lasted quite a while and then he eventually ran out of breathing forms and Akaza would have killed him without Tanjiro. But something that other people are missing is the fact that Tanjiro, while he doesn't have as many physical fighting moments, and it seems like whenever he is fighting him, he, outside of when he unlocks the transparent world, is kind of struggling a bit more against him than Giyuu is. Tanjiro is the brains in the situation. Even though, you know, he has the facepalm moment of him calling out to his name when he could have done the sneak attack, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, Tanjiro is affecting the fight just as much as Giyuu, but he is affecting it more with his words and with his personality. You know, people are making fun of a couple moments with Tanjiro, like when he monologues with him and tells him about how the strong protect the weak, but something that I think people are missing is that right when Tanjiro says that to him and he gives him that monologue is when Akaza starts to remember his past. Now keep in mind, at the end of the day, Akaza's past is the catalyst in actually like being the reason that Akaza dies. If he had not been reminded of his past, he would not have been defeatable. And Giyuu wasn't gonna do that for him. Giyuu was a fun fight, Giyuu was an enjoyable fight, but eventually Giyuu would have not been able to do anything because Giyuu was not able to get in touch with Akaza's human side in the way that Tanjiro was. The other part of the fight that I see a lot of people making fun of with Tanjiro is when he's flashing back to his dad and learning about the transparent world. And I just want to call out that we have to remember that we are not seeing this in real time. It is likely that Tanjiro's moment here where he is trying to analyze the situation and figure out how the heck to defeat Akaza to when he unlocks the see-through world was probably maybe 30 seconds to a minute in the actual anime timeline. He was not just like standing there staring while Giyuu was like fighting for his life for a long period of time. Yes, he did that briefly, but what he was doing was very, very important as he was analyzing the situation, which he needed to do because that was something Giyuu wasn't doing. However, I say that Tanjiro would not have been able to defeat Akaza if Giyuu wasn't there because Tanjiro was severely lacking on the physical side in this fight, and he needed Giyuu to kind of hold down the fort while he was analyzing the situation and preaching at Akaza at times, if you want to call it that. He needed Giyuu to be holding down the fort. Well, he wasn't when he said the monologue though. Akaza just listened, so that's a moot point. My point is, I think Giyuu is getting a lot of the credit in this fight, which like I partially do agree with because at the end of the day, Giyuu did get like the really cool moments. I mean, most, outside of the see-through world, the parts that Tanjiro was fighting in as far as like animation goes, were not as awe-inspiring as most of the moments that Giyuu was in it. Like I could tell the fight sequences with Giyuu specifically were the best I've seen in the show, while the fight sequences with Tanjiro were very good, but not up to that level. But you have to understand that Tanjiro is the reason that they defeated him at the end of the day, because he reminded Akaza of his past, because he's the one who was able to analyze the situation and unlock something new in order to defeat him. Now, let's talk briefly about the funny moment that is when Tanjiro calls out his name when he's behind him and Akaza doesn't realize that he is. Is this moment funny? Yes, I laugh every single time I watch the movie. It is funny. It seems like he's just being silly. It seems like he's just being idiotic. And at the end of the day, I don't really know if he did that on purpose or if he just wasn't thinking straight. And the reason is because Tanjiro does not know at this point in time that Akaza can regenerate his head if beheaded, and he does not know of Akaza's backstory. He does know that Akaza hates cowards. He's said that multiple times. He hates people that are weak. He said that multiple times. And while Tanjiro's kind of tried to talk him out of it, he hasn't been able to do it. The reason I bring that up is because people are calling out that he might have done this on purpose for honor, where he didn't want to sneak up from behind. He wanted to fight him fair and square, and I think that's very likely. However, I don't know if that's truly what was going on in his mind, since he didn't know the full picture. However, the act of Tanjiro doing so saved him and Giyuu. If Tanjiro had not called out his name and gone through with beheading Akaza from behind, from a sneak attack when he concealed his presence there, I don't think Akaza would have accepted defeat later on. In Akaza's backstory, we learn that his hatred towards weak people is more of a hatred towards people being cowardly. We see that Koyuki and Keizo were killed by this other dojo, and they did it in a very cowardly way. They wouldn't just own up and face them. They put poison in the well. Now, is a sneak attack from behind in the heat of battle the same as this? No. However, I do think it is likely that Akaza would not view an attack like that the same way that he viewed the attack that Tanjiro actually did in the story. People are also forgetting, when they like to make fun of Tanjiro for doing this, is that Tanjiro was able to behead him less than 1 minute later. Him doing that confused Akaza and made him actually surpass Akaza's abilities here, which in turn is the reason why Akaza accepted defeat. My point is, I truly believe if Tanjiro had beheaded him that first time and didn't call out to him and did it from behind, it is likely that Akaza could have viewed that as a cowardly move, and because he was able to regenerate his head essentially like he was trying to, I don't think he would have ended it the way he did. I don't think it would have helped him get in touch with his past as much. I don't think that he would have said, I lost fair and square. I think that there's a likely possibility that he would have just regenerated his head and then killed them both out of fury, because at this point in the fight, Tanjiro and Giyuu are both at their limit. Giyuu is very wounded because he's been the one that's been holding down the fort physically, and Tanjiro is using an ability that is using all of his stamina, essentially. So as we know, right after everything, they both collapse. Tanjiro collapses twice. They would not have stood a chance if Akaza had regenerated his head. So I think it is very important to note that I do believe that the act of calling out his name did end up actually saving them. And it just goes to show, like I said, even though Tanjiro doesn't have the physical prowess that Giyuu did in this fight, he was just as important to the fight as Giyuu was. He just didn't get as flashy moments because Giyuu was not able to analyze the situation and understand Akaza on that level, and that's a specific character trait of Tanjiro. Tanjiro was able to do that because of who he is, but also because of his battle smarts, which, granted, if we go all the way back to episode 1 when Giyuu and Tanjiro met, the main reason that Giyuu let Tanjiro and Nezuko live here and sent him to be trained as a swordsman is not because Tanjiro was showing great strength and abilities, it was because Tanjiro showed him that he can think quick on his feet. So that's another full circle moment, is that that's always been Tanjiro's greatest strength. He can think quick on his feet. So I further the fact that if either one were fighting by themselves, it would not have worked out. They needed each other equally, and they both played a part in this fight equally. So my point is, in this video, I know this is kind of a random rant, but I hope you understand what I mean by this. Tanjiro deserves just as much recognition in this fight as Giyuu does. The only reason he isn't is because his moments don't seem as important, because Giyuu got the cool moments. And I'm saying this as like, yes, Giyuu deserves recognition because I love him and he had some of my absolute favorite moments in the entire movie, but we gotta give credit where credit is due. Tanjido deserves some of the love as well. But that is gonna be it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. And I'll see you all next time. Matane.